Welcome back to the channel. What a real recovery would actually recover in Canada in order for us to see a stable market. So stay tuned and you will find out why this is almost impossible in 2026. And stop scrolling, because we are addicted in Canada, and HELOCs and line of credits and everything else, basically that is fueling this particular market. So we'll get into some points. We'll talk about what it would actually recover, because at this point people are being delusional. They believe that, you know, a couple of homes sell here and there in their community and they see a sold sign, which is fine, nothing wrong with that, but that is not a statement that we are seeing real estate fully recover. And you know, month over month and year over year since 2022, we have seen that the market is absolutely feathering down. In fact, for some numbers, in some communities, particular communities, it is crashing, right? Like, you know, big, strong communities, they have seen, you know, 15%, 20%. Some communities outside Toronto, GTA, in smaller towns, in rural areas, they have seen falls like 30%, right? And we have not even hit the cliff yet. So when that happens, which is likely, right? Nobody knows at this point, but it is likely, because we are not having enough of ammunition or strategy, I believe, that they can switch the mindset, they can switch our economy that quickly in order for us to see express gains or something that happens very quickly. So let's get into these points. Prices must actually fall. A recovery does not happen with frozen markets, sellers refusing reality and fake stability. And that's just it. Just because someone, and they do have the right to do so, can say, hey, look, my house is this price and I'm not here to budge. Well, it's your call, but you're not selling, right? And the market will actually answer on your call, right? So just because you're waiting, sometimes time in this case can be your biggest enemy, because we don't know what can happen in 3 months, 6 months, next year, and nobody can predict. We can assume, and I believe that the market will not recover before 2030, but that's just what I think. I could be wrong, but you know, like, I was in the eyes of viewers, not all, but some, you know, and people commented all along, you know, they said, hey, look, man, like, you're wrong. And that was 3 years ago. Today, 3 years later, they're like, hey, you might be right. You see, because things change, right? And that's fine. That must come down. Canadians' problem, 176% debt to income ratio. That is crazy, folks. HELOC addiction and lifestyle borrowing. So just because the banks opened up and they started giving, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the day, a big statement for most borrowers walking into a bank, they would say, well, I'm not going to spend my own money, I'm just spending the bank's money, right? Like, that was the, you know, ego talk, I would say, or that, you know, I don't care, like, it's not mine anyways. Well, look, at the end of the day, that might be true. And in fact, it is true, because you're borrowing from the bank in order to fuel, buy, etc. However, you're still liable for it. You still pay, right? And therefore, we have seen, you know, the banks, and many Canadians are scratching their heads. They're like, how come the banks have seen record-breaking numbers in terms of profits? Well, it is simple. You borrowed against it, now you're paying and they're seeing profits. And then we are claiming, or most are claiming, I don't care, they can take my house. And they will take your house. You think they won't? They will. bank-owned properties in Southern Ontario skyrocketed. I know some numbers are small, but it is dangerous when you see that, you know, bank-owned and bankruptcies explode. That is insane. Wage growth, real, not fake. Not inflation wage bumps, minimum wage optics. We need productivity growth, real income expansion, middle class strengthening. And in the past, we have all experienced it. Some we could not experience because they were a long time ago. You know, these crashes and recessions, adjustments, you can call it whatever you want. But the bottom point is, in every case, whenever we saw middle class being over leveraged with no escape clauses, we saw a crash. It is very simple. And it's no different in 2026. It will happen. It's just optics, you know, nowadays, and minimum wages that, you know, people say, well, look, minimum wage is at this point, I don't know exactly, but let's say $17 an hour. Okay, fine. So what are you going to do with $17 an hour? You cannot even rent a 1-bedroom in a 2-bedroom condo. Like, you cannot even rent a condo. You have to rent a bedroom in a condo. You see what I'm saying? So it does not make any sense. Supply that people can actually afford, not luxury condos, investment units, shoebox apartments. And we were focused on all of these, right? We need family housing, rental supply, purpose-built rentals. And that's just it, right? Like, people are just giving up because that investment doesn't make any sense. People don't want to invest. The return on their investment is just not there anymore, period, right? So luxury condos, like for example, this building right here behind me, like these condos, huge, large, like we're talking good in size, 3,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet. And that's okay, right? Like, this is just like right across the lake and all of that stuff. But if I told you that these units are running into millions, like $3 million, $4 million. Are you kidding me right now? That's crazy, right? So that's something that when you start scratching your head and you go like, oh my gosh, like really? Like, could they not kind of adjusted it and make it work somehow differently? But that's what we kind of geared for. Like, that's what we kind of wanted. I don't know. Government stepping back. Real recovery requires less market manipulation, no bailouts, no artificial stimulants. Pain clears bad debt, resets expectations, rebuilds discipline. Well, guys, that's going to be painful, and it's already starting to be painful. So I believe so far what happened, people are just waiting for that savior, right? And they're waiting for that someone to show up and clear the mess. Not gonna happen, all right? So the mess will stay with you. It's either you figure out a way how you can kind of save yourself from the mess, and how you could maybe pay off some debt and start small. Like, start with some subscriptions, maybe start with the car loan, start with the visa loan, start with the student loan. There's so many different ways you can do it. Stop spending, stop treating yourself like you are, I don't know, something, you're broke. Like, let's just reset that mindset. Let's just focus on what's important, and then eventually we'll get there. But that reset needs to happen. Investors leaving the market. End users dominate, not flippers, not speculators. Less leverage, fewer BRRRR strategies, and long-term ownership. Yeah, so people at one point started jumping, you know what I mean? Like, from one property to another property, started flipping, started seeing some profits at the time. But, you know, like it unfortunately, most got caught in between those wins, and the end result will be painful for sure. Immigration plus housing alignment. Not record immigration, zero supply planning. And we have seen that. We have seen Canada being bombarded with the immigration. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do with ourselves, never mind with 5 million more immigrants. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we have issues by the millions over here, and now we're adding to more stress. Like, how about having a plan and then executing, not executing and then figuring it out as we go, right? So I don't get that. So what we need is infrastructure planning, housing capacity, real integration, so we don't get involved with the chaos and then back and forth, and everybody is kind of being angry, and I would say not pleased with the final outcome, right? Bank reality check. Recovery requires honest stress testing, tighter lending, no extended and pretended situations. And yes, so I think the bank is clamping down 100%, 1000%. They're clamping down, and they're asking, like lately, like I'll give you an example. A tenant now has to, I don't know if it's all the cases, but has to, the CRA called, Canada Revenue Agency, they called and they said, you have to prove that you have lived in the property that you have leased for the past year or 2 or 3, I don't know how long, you have to prove it. So the tenant said, not a problem, like I can go to my bank and I can just withdraw my statements each month, year, 2, 3, doesn't matter, right? And they see everything there. They said, yeah, that's fine. However, we also need a letter from your landlord signing on the dotted line stating that you have rented for the X amount and all of that stuff, right? So what does that say? That basically means that Canadian Revenue Agency wants both sides to be clear. The tenant rented, fine, but also the landlord needs to sign, which means did they actually declare that particular income or not, right? So this is now another bottleneck situation, and many will lose their shirt, right, in this particular battle. Consumer behavior reset. People must accept smaller homes, longer timelines, delayed gratifications. The flex era is over, ladies and gentlemen, and at this point, you know what, it's okay to drive a normal car, it's okay to live in a normal house, it is okay not to have, but it is okay to plan, right? So everyone should ask themselves that fair question: am I really flexing for my neighbors or friends? Can I really afford that? Do I really need that? So I hope you gained some value out of this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.